Hey guys, Seth here with a sword review. This is the Hanwei Unokubi Zukuri Raptor with fake leather Ito, fake Samigawa, 5160 spring steel, sharpened by yours truly. And this is my review. Just giving you guys a little look at the sword. Now, my thoughts on this piece are kind of, well, they're probably going to piss a few people off, and that's okay. It really is. Because this sword is geared for beginners. It is a beater sword. It is not meant for, what's the word, extreme tameshigiri, where you're trying to perform multiple cuts on mats. It doesn't handle very well in that kind of scenario. This is not meant for performance. It is meant to be tough and to get you through that learning curve of using a katana. Now, my first problem with this piece is that the ska, the handle, is extremely thick. It's like an axe. And I dislike that very much. The fittings, I don't care about the fittings that much. They're plain, they're functional. My problem is basically the ska. And it's just cumbersome. But I see where Hanwei was going with this, being that it's geared toward new people, toward new people, beginners. I'm going to get it there in a second. So, it's geared toward people that are just starting to learn to cut with a real sword. So they're coming off of using axes and farm tools and garden tools and so on and so forth. And they probably would feel more at home using a oversized handle like this. But in my opinion, once you outgrow the beginner stage, you should really move on to another more traditional style ska. Now, I'm not saying the Hanwei Raptors are bad. I'm just saying they're not meant for mat cutting really. They're meant more for just beating the crap out of them. They can cut a mat, sure, but once you get into cutting and you start trying other swords and you realize how other swords are made, how they're built, how the fittings are, the geometries and everything, you'll come to realize that the Hanwei Raptors are beater swords. They're beginners. They're for beginners. Even in the James Williams advert, where he is discussing the Hanwei Raptor series, he mentions how it can benefit someone that is just starting to cut by being how tough they are. If you notice, most martial arts practitioners that cut, they don't use the Raptors. They use other styles. They use more traditional ones that are geared more for cutting and less about being able to just take an ass whooping, basically. And that's what I think the Raptors are meant for. They're meant to be a tank. They're meant to be to where you can just throw them around, beat them around, have bad misaligned cuts, and you won't have to worry about damaging the sword. In that aspect, they're a great sword. However, there are other brands that have swords that are just as tough as the Raptors, that also cut better, they handle better, they feel better in the hand. To me, this type of ska is very cumbersome. It feels weird. You can't really wrap your hand all the way around like you want because it's so wide. The length of it, I have no problem with the length. I have a lot of swords that have really long skas, but it's the axe handle thickness that turns me off of this piece. 5160 is a great steel. for being tough, but there are people out there that make blanket statements about this sword, and they can be taken literally by impressionable people that are just starting to cut. I could easily say, this is the best sword ever made. You should get one. And if you're new to cutting and you buy it, it's decent. Of course, you're going to like it or whatever, but you're going to get it and you're going to use it and you're going to think this is how it's supposed to be. Not ever really giving any other swords a chance. And that's my problem with people that are on the Hanwei bandwagon. They tend to say, it's the best, you'll never find anything better. I have a problem with that, because there are other swords out there that are better, that are cut better, that are better swords for the money than the Hanwei Raptors. A lot better. The Tsunami, you knew it was coming. The HST Tsunami is made of 9260 spring steel. Completely better sword, better skamaki, better fittings, better saya, better material on the Sageo and the Ito. Everything on that sword is done perfectly, and it's spring steel. It can take a beating. Mine has survived hitting concrete and steel railing, steel razor sharp, because I know how I can maintain my blades. But the point is, it took that and it didn't chip or roll. It just got dull. Now, as far as the toughness of the sword, I don't take anything away from it. It's tough, but I just don't find it very appealing. There's better swords. I mean, I keep saying the same thing, but there's better swords out there. Now, there's an argument that goes, well, you're only buying the blade. And this comment has given me a headache to the point where I had to bring it up. No, you're not buying just the blade. You're buying the whole sword. This is a complete package. And the way they're marketed toward new people. People that are new to cutting. So to argue the fact that you're only buying the blade and you can change this is also a blanket statement. You're assuming someone knows how to remount a sword. You're assuming they should have to do it in the first place, which they shouldn't have to. That's the problem. If you go to a car lot and you say, I want that car right there, and you sit in it and you know what? The seats are just terrible. Or better yet, the steering wheel hurts your hand or something, because this thing has the manukis out to where they're not really that comfortable. But anyway, back to the car analogy. And the dealer says, well, that's, you're only buying the engine. That's just, you can change that when you get home. No, you shouldn't have to. Especially when there are other swords out there that do the same thing this does as far as being tough and are mounted properly. I have a friend who will, I'm not going to call him out by name, who tells me all the time how many scars, the cores that he comes across that are on the Hanwei series, the Raptor series, that are cracked. So not only are they big and gawky, they're also weak and they break. So I don't care for the Hanwei Raptor series. It's my personal preference, and this is my review. And I'm telling you the reasons why. It's not just me making, oh well, I just don't like it. These are the reasons I don't like it. Once again, overly sized ska, plain Jane fittings. Geometry is okay on the Unokubi, but as I've taught, I have many friends that are traditionally trained, formally trained. They all say the same thing. The Raptors drag on cutting mats. And I believe it. So, if you like the sword, if you like Raptors, that's your right. You can like whatever sword you want. I'm telling you the reasons why I dislike it, and offering you some other avenues that you can take. If you're just starting out to cut, there are plenty of beginner swords out there, every bit as tough as this. Musashi, Munotoshi, HSTS. And they will cut circles around this thing. So with that being said, I guess I'm done ranting and bitching about the Hanwei Raptors. You guys have a great day. Peace and say my name. We will see you next time.